Hello, welcome to my studio. My name's Tommy. This little creature is Nessie. She's my studio companion when the cat's not in the house. Yeah, so this is my first floss tube. I've only done a couple of other YouTube videos. I do all kinds of fiber type things, quilting mostly, art quilts, bed quilts. I design my own stuff. I rarely work from patterns, or I might find a block that I like and work from that. But and I've been quilting on and off for 30 years. I don't want to say that, but yeah, 30 years. So I just started cross stitch the end of January, and I was looking for something to do that wasn't my design. That takes a lot of brain power, you know, to design something and then keep evaluating, is this working, is this working, is this working, what's next, what's next, what's next, which is awesome. It's a great process. I love it. But there are times when I just don't have that kind of energy, but I still have, like, I don't want to just sit and watch TV, right? I'm not that kind of person at all. And I don't have a job. I don't work. I've been disabled since I was 33. So I do have a lot of time where I'm just not feeling super spunky, but I'm not like deathly in bed or anything either. You know, I can't really think, but I want to do creative things, and keeping my hands busy is fabulous for mental health, right? I think most of you who watch floss tubes or do this kind of thing, you probably realize that, or if you don't, think about it, because it might just be what keeps you sane. So I wanted something where I could do other people's designs and follow some instructions and just kind of do that. I needed something like that in my life. And I was watching Laura from La La Dee Stitches. I watched a lot of her quilting videos, and I had never watched one of her cross stitch videos because it hadn't occurred to me that would be something I'd want to do. I've always kind of wanted to do embroidery because my mother was she was good at embroidery, but she didn't do it much when I was older, only when I was very, very small. So I really don't even remember her doing it. And her stuff is just so perfect. And she did crewel work mostly. And I could never make stitches look good. And I've also tried to do kind of like a freeform embroidery where you just kind of have an idea and just go. But that's not, I don't work that way in any of my, like I'm a trained artist. I have my master's degree in painting and drawing. And so I don't work that way. I might do a lot of preliminary sketches and stuff for something, but I can't just start a piece and then just make it. It just doesn't work that way for me. So, you know, I needed a pattern for embroidery, and I don't know, all the combinations of stitches and stuff, it's just a little too much for something that I want to just do to relax. And cross stitch is beautiful. You know, there's very little, you know, like the learning curve, it's not like there's not a learning curve. I'm definitely learning a lot as I go. You know, I've only been at it a couple months and I've learned a ton, but it's like a soft learning curve, right? You can still make things that look really nice even if you don't have it all figured out, you know? Like I can't, there's no way I could do linen yet. I bought a couple pieces. I started one piece that I was really excited about, and yeah, it was really challenging. So I backed off, and all the projects I've got going now are on Aida. But I really don't like the big pixely look of like 14 or 16 count. So I've been working on 25 count, and I have one on 18 count. That's a good size. I like that. I like really precise stuff. If I'll link in the description, I have a portfolio of my paintings online that you can see, like what I do otherwise. So I like the littleness of it. I like the counting. I've always, it's crazy. I hate math, but I really like things that have structure and you know, they have mathematical relationships. So cross stitch is great. It's really great. I love it. I promised my son that I would. I was working on a practice piece, you know, before I ordered anything. I had a little old kit hanging out, and I was like, I promise this isn't going to be another rabbit hole. He's like, oh, sure, Mama. Sure, it's gonna be a rabbit hole. He was right. It's a rabbit hole. It's a very friendly rabbit hole, though. One of the things that actually attracted me to cross stitch is the community, the FLOSSTUBE community. I see how everybody like is very supportive of each other and so positive and encouraging and open. I need that in my life. I'm pretty isolated, being disabled and being home all the time. I have a wonderful supportive family. I have a few friends. There's a quilting group that I'm starting to kind of get comfortable with. They're lovely ladies. I hope you're watching this, guys. But yeah, this grab community wherever you can find it these days, right? It's really hard to build community. And I've always loved YouTube for that, because, you know, if you put yourself out there, you know, you can build a community, and you don't have to be technically social. And so that's good for me. I'm not very good at being social. Nessie is now cleaning her feathers on my arm. Aren't you, Nessie? Oh, you're gonna stop now? You were doing so cute. So that's kind of why I got into it. I think I have a little bit different sort of taste than a lot of folks. I'm just kind of figuring it out, but I do like things that are structured. So, you know, I look at a Quaker and I like how the elements kind of fit together, and I like things with borders. And this is just looking at. I've only started 3 things. I have 3 whips, but when I'm looking at stuff and watching what other people do, but it's amazing the variety of patterns out there. It's just astounding. There really has to be something for everybody. There really does. So I'm just gonna play it by ear. I'm not gonna. I know that if I have, like, I've seen some people have 50 or more whips. I can't do that. Either financially, I can't do that, and just in my headspace, I think that would really stress me out. So I kind of like started up front. I made a little rule for myself. I said, you know, you start something new, everything needs to be at 15% before you start something new. And I've been doing that, and that, you know, I think that's a good rule for me. I don't think I have a full coverage that I'm going to want to start. That I'm not going to hold myself to that for the full coverage, because that's just ridiculous, right? I probably will just tell myself only one full coverage at a time until I, you know, really know what I like doing. I don't want to start things, put money into things where I'm not gonna want to finish it, or it's gonna just lay around for years and years and years. Oh no, you can't sit on that. You will poop on it. The biggest problem with having a small parrot in your studio is the poop, right? Right. You can see behind me, I've got a wall hanging on my quilting frame, my hand quilting frame back there, and I have to keep her off that. She's kind of destructive of some things. She'll chew stuff up, and if I'm doing anything dangerous, like if I'm running the iron, obviously she's not going to be out of her cage. But it's good to have company. I have a couple little dogs too. If you've watched my other videos, you'll probably have seen June and Sadie, and they're sitting outside the studio door right now, wondering who I'm talking to and what is going on and when is lunch. Okay, I'm gonna get into my whips now, but if you hear out across the street, they're having somebody was cleaning their gutters out and they got their crane lift stuck. And so there's lots of beeping and cursing. So it's not me. I'm sorry. I've been waiting all day for them to stop and they're just not going to. So here we go. All right. So the first thing I started, and I'm going to move over to the side a little bit here. There we go. So I have room to put up over here. I'll put up pictures of what I'm working on. I don't have actual like anything hard copy. I try to not print anything off unless I absolutely have to. And these were all ordered PDFs I got from Etsy. So I didn't, now I have bird poop on me. If you wonder what I'm trying to do now, is clean bird poop off my hand. Okay. Yeah, so the first one I started on January 31st this year, 25. Now you're going to talk. Okay. And it's going to be a gift. I tend to be bad at Christmas gifts, so I'm planning ahead this year. It's called, and I'll put the picture of it over here. It's called Sampler 60, really? Sampler number 63, creative, by 2x2 Stitch Art on Etsy. I've just, in my, I'm using Markup XP. I've named it Dragons because it's got dragons. So I'm 50% done. There's almost 30,000 stitches to the whole thing. So that's quite a bit for a first piece, I think. I'm doing it on 18 count Aida, white Aida, that I ordered also from Etsy from a place called SkillSupply. And I've got a couple different things from them, and I mean it takes the full 2 weeks to get there. So you can't rush, but it comes nicely packaged and it's nice stuff. So here we go. There's my first piece. Let's see, which is the top. This is the top. So if I got that in there, yep. The light's not that great on it, but it's a soft black. I didn't want to go with the black, so I got DMC 3795. And I have trouble with focus in this camera, so let's see if we can focus there. You can see sort of. It's pretty nice. It's delicate, but it's robust at the same time, and I like that. I like the repetition. I've seen a lot of people that sort of don't like the repetition of, okay, now I have to get my face in focus again. Whoop. Is that in focus? Only if I sit close. There we go. All right. My camera doesn't automatically track faces or anything, so I have to touch the screen where I want it to focus on, and my arms aren't long enough. So that's why I'll be stretching, and I'm just corralling Nessie here a little bit. So that's the first piece, and I'm 50% of the way done with that. Yeah, it's going really well. I worked on it for almost a full month before I started. Actually over a month, because the next one I started this month, March 5th. Oh, I'm going to show you the bag that I made for this is the bag that I made for the dragon piece. I just used pieces of fabric that were in my stash and just made sure it would fit around the hoop that I'm using, which I think is a 7-inch, just like a regular wooden hoop. This fabric, if you watch my video from 2 months ago, I can't remember, free scraps, I got this load of scrap fabric from somebody that my husband knows, and it's a different colorway of this fabric that I didn't know about. And I originally bought this fabric 25 years ago to make my daughter a toddler quilt. It's the back of my daughter's toddler quilt. So it was really cool pulling out fabric that old out of this scrap pile and knowing exactly what it was. That was cool. So it reminded me that I had this scrap, and so I pulled it out like, oh, that's the perfect size. And so the fabric on the back and the lining are both from the free fabric I got. So this was the first thing I made, I think, with the free fabric I got. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, just one color for that. I wanted to just deal with one thing at a time, and I didn't have a lot of, you know, I have little bits and pieces of floss, but I didn't have anything like a quantity large enough to do a whole big piece. So it was easy enough to just get a few skeins of black from Joann's, which is gone now. Goodbye, Joann's. Luckily, I have a Michael's near me that also carries all the DMCs. They don't have a lot of other stuff, but you know, if I need a color, I can go and I can find what I need. All right, Nessie, go back on my shoulder. Go back on my shoulder. Okay, so that's the first one that I started, and I think I did pretty good. I worked on it for a month diligently. The next piece it's also from an Etsy designer, HappyMoodPoint, and it's just got a number, SS226 sampler, and I'll put over here a picture of it. Now they showed it on a white background with red and blue. I dyed the fabric yellow myself with Rit dye. I think I used, what's it called? Golden yellow or something like that. This is 25 count Aida from SkillSupply again. And I'm 15% of the way on this. And I chose floss that I did already have in my collection. I'm moving my tea because of the bird. And so it's going to be big. I think the fabric that I used is 19 inches square, and I made 3-inch borders. Let's see. And I think I will take pictures of all this and just put them up on the screen too, so you can see the detail. I know I'm not doing a very good job with the focus. So I'll put that over here. Yeah, I love those kind of patterns where there's that repetition and structure, and that was one reason that I actually got back into quilting. I had spent a few years really trying to get my paintings going again, trying to get, you know, noticed. I did a lot on Instagram, and I tried really hard to make contacts and stuff, and it was just no traction. And you know, I was really pushing myself on these pieces, and then I would find myself bored with my paintings, and I realized it was because they were too, it was too, like, I liked the designing of it a lot, and I enjoy painting, but painting my designs wasn't jiving with me, at least not at that point. Maybe someday it will. So I got back into making quilts because, again, I like to design, I like the structure, and I also like the repetitive sewing. So that filled that need for me at that time. But then I started doing not so much bed quilts, but wall hangings, which have a little bit of loose, a little bit of tight. So I do approach things from an artist standpoint, you know. I can't really get out of that headspace. Yeah, so Ukrainian Snowflake. I am, what, 15% on this. I got to my 15% before I started the next one. It's got almost 45,000 stitches when it's all complete. So I'm not, you know, most of the detail is yet to be seen. And I like for the first one, for the dragon piece, I marked out with a heat erasable pen. I marked little dots every 10 stitch spaces, 10 threads on Aida. Yeah. And that worked out really well on the white. But then, you know, I kind of heard somebody say that if you don't really wash that stuff out, sometimes it can come back and show up. So I decided not to do that on this snowflake piece. And it's going okay. I made a couple mistakes as a result, but nothing too terrible. I didn't have to tear out too much. That reminds me, on my list of things to say, if anybody has any advice on how to go about frogging a piece, I could really use some tips, because I've been using just either the tip of a long pin, like I have what are these called? Like a boutonniere pin. You know, they've got the big head, they're a couple inches long, for a corsage pin, I guess that's what it is. So I've been using that, and I've been using my normal seam ripper from you know, sewing. But neither one seems to be efficient, and I'm wondering if it's just a super painful process or if there's a trick to it. So if you have a trick or a tool, I'm all ears. Okay, all right, so that's the second piece. I will put this back in its bag. Okay, so I'll put up here what this one, I took a screenshot from Etsy. This is another one from Etsy. The pattern is called Squares, and it's by TinselCrossStitch. I think it was charted for, I think they said 14 count. I'm using 25 count, and this is one I dyed myself. And I recorded a video of dyeing this fabric that I'm gonna try to have come out at the same time this one, so that you can watch both of them. And I'll put a link, you know, back and forth in the descriptions. I'm not too good at having things show up in the corners and stuff yet. I don't know how to do that. So this one I'll show you the floss first, because it's the pretty part. This was all stuff from that collection that I bought, somebody's stash. None of this is labeled as what brand it is. I assume most of it is DMC. It looks like the DMC that I have that is labeled. And this was already cut. All this was cut and kind of just stuffed in a bag. And so I sorted it out, and I'm using this big, huge, I don't know if you can see it. It's like a big, huge safety pin that I've had for years. It was part of my grandmother's knitting stuff that I inherited more than 30 years ago. So that works pretty well for this. I'm not too keen on either of these, like either like having it in a pre-cut drop or on the card. I have these cardboard DMC bobbins that you can buy. I got those from Joann's, I think. But I don't want to get fancy floss drops either. So I don't know. I might come up with something sort of halfway in between that suits me better. But these colors are pretty, and they're very spring-like, and I needed to start something spring-like. I started this the day after the first day of spring, so the 21st of this month, March 21st. So there's that. Okay, this is me coming back, realizing that I just got cut off in the middle of talking about this piece. 100 squares. So I'll try to do editing magic, but I don't do magic very well yet with the computer. So this piece is, let's see, this is the top. It's called Squares. And the reason I chose it, if you look really close, each square is a different pattern. And I've of course gone down the rabbit hole and have started thinking about designing my own cross stitch patterns. And even though what got me into it in the first place was that other people were doing the designs, but I can't stop. My brain just makes things, right? But I recognize that not only am I a totally inexperienced stitcher, but the translating what a chart looks like into what the actual stitches look like, there's a big difference, right? I think especially when you're working with like a 14 count Aida versus even a 20 count, right? Just when the X's are bigger, it's a little more blocky looking. But once those X's get smaller, you start to be able to make that illusion of roundness with the X's. But getting that illusion in a pattern where you're charting squares, the squares look different. They don't have that rounded effect. And so my idea with this piece is to kind of get practice in looking at a chart and what the chart looks like and knowing what it's going to look like once it's stitched. Because if you're going to design something, if you think of like the chart with the boxes, it's almost like a sketch, right? When the stitched piece is the finished piece. There's always a difference between a sketch, a mock-up, right, and the finished piece in how they look. There's a difference in the lines and edges and curves, and all that stuff looks different. Just because of the optics, your eye will blend an X much quicker than it will a square, a pixel. So this is I like the design. I want to do something springy, and I like the structure, but also I want to learn how to see like a designer and not just like a stitcher. And so that's what this is for me. I really don't need to start learning how to design anything else, but I'm going to. And I think just back to this pattern itself, it's 100 squares, so it's like 10 by 10 in a block. I think I'm going to do 9 by 9. I'm doing pink every other one, so it's like a pink checkerboard. I have a lot of different pinks in my scraps in my stash. But if you have an even number and you're doing every other one pink, you're going to end up with a not pink corner over here and down here, right? So if you do 9 by 9, that uneven number, because across 3, like, you've got pink in all the corners. So if you do 9 by 9, it'd be the same way, right? Pink in all the corners. So that I'll probably do that. But other than that, I'm not going to change the pattern at all. I really just want to use it as a learning tool. And process too. It's just fun to, like, I work on this for, I don't know, a couple hours. It takes me a couple hours still. I'm pretty slow still. But yeah, so it's like every day it's a little bit different. It's the same project, but it's a little different. And I like that, even though it's pattern and repetitious at the same time. Okay, so that's my last whip. And I lost some footage. I don't even really remember everything that I was talking about. But I know I did start talking about plans for the future. So I have 2 projects planned. This one I'm going to show you is one that got you know, deleted. This is a few hours later, I'm back. The guys outside, they're not so noisy right now. So this is some 25 count Aida that I dyed myself. I used cocoa brown dye for this. And if you want to see me make that, I have a video. I'm going to try to release it the same time I release this one and link them to each other. And it's going to have this beautiful bright green floss. And this floss came in that stash that I purchased. And I'll put up here what I'm going to be doing. I have, for many, many, many years, since I was a teenager, kind of had a fascination with the Mother Earth figure. A lot of my paintings and drawings have featured the Venus of Willendorf. I could probably put a picture of her up here too. But lots of folk art motifs, no matter, pretty much, you know, worldwide. There are Mother Earth references. Like there's usually a goddess or some figure that sort of fills that niche. And that's always been really fascinating to me. If you're interested in that, go on my Instagram and scroll back about 3 or 4 years. I have a whole series of photographs that I did with a little figurine that I have, a Venus of Willendorf cast, like a replica that I've had for a really long time. So this is gonna be Slavic Goddess is the name of it. And of course I've closed my notes up here, but let me see if I can pop them back out. Yeah, it's another one. It's by TinselCrossStitch on Etsy. And in the description they named her Mokosh, and there are a couple other patterns I've seen out there, cross stitch patterns, with her in different variations, which I'll probably do those too. But this one looked the most straightforward as far as the stitching goes. Better place for me to start. I did start this piece on a chunk of linen, beautiful linen. I got, I don't know, a couple thousand stitches in, and it was just so ugly. I was doing such a bad job. It's because I was trying to go 1/1. I'm not ready for that yet on linen. It was really hard. I have all you guys that can do like 40 count. Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing to me. So that's the plan with this piece. It'll be all in green. I've seen it done in all red, which looks really cool on Pinterest. But I think I'll do it all in green. If I decide that's too much, I will pull in some yellows, because there's in the flower motifs. I'll pull in some yellows and vary it up a little bit if I want to. I think that's all that I missed. I will cut back in now to where I start talking about the next future project that I've got going on, and if I don't mention it, it's a map of Middle Earth. Fun. So the last project that I'm going to talk about today, the plan. I'm sorry for this crunchy noise. Sorry, I should have opened that up first. I had it in this plastic bag. So I'm going to be doing a full coverage, and I'll stick it over here. Maybe I'll move Nessie so she doesn't get covered up. Come here, Nessie. Come, sit over here. Okay. I have been a fan of Middle Earth since I was very young. I read The Hobbit, I don't know how many times. My uncle read it to me when I was young too. And so, you know, the movies, I know that I'm not so keen on the new, like, what is it, Netflix? I don't know, not Netflix. There's the new series. I'm not so keen on that. But the map of Middle Earth as a cross stitch on the wall, that's too cool, right? So that's what I'm gonna do it. And I got not all the colors. I got probably 2/3 of them you know, I kind of looked at the chart to see if I start in one corner and work across the colors I would need first. So I had a coupon and I got a bunch of them, and there were 2 versions of the map available. One had like 122 colors, and then I chose the kind of weathered brown looking one that has 22 colors instead. Partly I did that because I thought that the detail looked better from what I could tell on the brown one rather than the blue and green multicolored one. I can't remember how many stitches it has. I'm going to be doing it on 28 count even weave. I ordered white, but I'll coffee dye it first so that I can use 1/1 or 2/1 10 stitch. I'm gonna do both on a corner and see what I think, which one I prefer. But there's even like this purple in there. Like, isn't that pretty? Like that purple. The light's not that great. I'm sorry. Nessie's now shredding the plastic bag. She's kind of like a puppy, but just smaller. She's so cute. Nessie was my 50th birthday present. She was only 9 months old when I got her, and she's now 2 years old, and she's fully grown, and she's full of piss and vinegar, as my dad would say. But she's also quite sweet. Okay, so that's my plans. Ouch, that was not very friendly of you. So I'm never sure how to end anything. So, like I said, I will probably once a month, every 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be doing a floss tube. And I just want to preemptively say, because I have seen so many people have their first floss tube and all the lovely comments and stuff. I really appreciate this community. Even if I hadn't decided to start a floss tube, it's already just a couple months made a difference in my life. I feel like just knowing there's a community out there is really nice. It's just really nice because life is lonely in these digital ages, I think. All right, my puppies are hungry. They're staring at me through the door and they're very sad, and they're going to start making noise pretty soon. So thank you for joining me here in my studio. Thank you for the community that you have already built. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know this craft better and other crafters, and just being out there for once. All right.